Hello again, and welcome to the second video in the series. We're now going to start the dive into the iInk model and what's it all about and what are the different elements associated with it. Now, the iInk model actually has three sections, three high-level sections, and it's modeled after the idea of what would be in a business plan. You take a look at a business plan and what's it take for a business to be successful, and that's to have a good business plan. Well, it's the same idea here. What does it take for a career to be successful, to have a good, solid career plan? And the career plan, very much like a business plan, has three major areas of focus. One is at the individual level. What's important to the individual? What is the individual what their values are, and how do they deal with change and that sort of thing. So that's the first part, and it's really focusing on the self. The second is the whole idea of how do you take this business idea, this career plan idea, this career idea to the job market, and what's involved and what are the other important elements associated with that. And then lastly, how do you tell a compelling story, not just list a group of facts, but tell a compelling story that's going to engage somebody in wanting to listen to you. Now, to go a little bit deeper into each of these sections, in the first one, exploring your passion. The idea here is doing a self-assessment, understanding who you are as an individual. What's your personality style? How do you like to work with other people? How do you interact with other people? What's important to you? What are your values? What is it that you're striving to get out of your career? The second piece of this is this whole idea of an entrepreneurial mindset. And we're going to encourage you to either enhance your current entrepreneurial mindset or change the way you think to have a stronger entrepreneurial, growth-related kind of mindset. An entrepreneur always is finding opportunities when they're talking with someone, and then that's the same idea here. We want you to get into the practice of looking for opportunities every time you engage with somebody, because it's not a matter of going out and looking at the want ads and trying to respond to a posting. It's finding opportunities by just simply listening and having this entrepreneurial mindset. So we're going to go a little bit deeper and help you understand that. And then the third piece of this thing is really surviving the rough spots. Change happens. You're going to have a lot of change in your life. You've already had a lot of change in your life. And we want to get into the idea of going through what we call a valley of despair and how you can get through that more rapidly and survive these rough spots in a more productive manner. So those are the three elements associated with exploring your passion. Now, this next section, discovering opportunities, is probably the most significant difference between traditional ways of looking for a job by putting your resume out there and hoping somebody responds to it, to really taking a much more proactive, assertive, aggressive approach to truly discovering opportunities, but opportunities that are in sync with what makes most sense for you as an individual. It's not just finding a job, but it's finding truly an opportunity that's a good match. And in order to do that, we really need to have three things and look at three things. One is your brand. One is it's sort of what you're all about. Who are you? What do you want people to think about you when they meet you? What is that personal essence of you that is very important? And there's parts of that are contribute to your job and what you can do, but there's other parts that are just part of who you are. You may like to play the guitar. That's part of your brand. You're not doing that. It's not necessarily part of the job, but it's part of your brand. So we want to spend some time helping you understand that brand and how do you tell people about it. The second piece is it's really important to be able to bring value to the job. So a lot of people will say, well, go after your passion. Yes, go after your passion, but make sure that you're able to bring value into the job market associated with that passion. So how do you identify that? And so that's the second part. And then the third part is finding the underserved need. And it is, again, it is not going to the want ads and looking for who's hiring, but rather identifying where you want to go and what are the kinds of environments that you want to be in, and then reaching out through informational interviews or networking events to find those kinds of opportunities once you've decided what you want to pursue. So those three things come together, and they come in together in what we call the sweet spot. And so we're going to go into a lot more detail on that. But the bottom line is that pursuing your sweet spot is the objective of the middle section of the model. And that brings us to the third piece of the model. And the title for this is Telling Your Story. And we use that term very purposefully because it's not about just listing facts or listing accomplishments, but rather telling a story, a compelling story that's going to engage the reader or the listener in terms of what you're doing and the interest that they have about what you're doing. Now, there's three pieces. Obviously, you've got to be able to do it in written form. So resumes, cover letters, etc., are all part of how you tell your story in a written format. The oral format is in interviewing or in doing an elevator speech when you meet somebody at a networking event. So there's oral ways that you tell your story, and then certainly using social media to tell your story. But the story you're telling is your sweet spot, and that's why we need to take the time to go through and truly understand what your personal sweet spot is, because that then is the topic that you want your story to tell. So we focus on it within the context of telling a story. There are different elements associated with it, but it's all based on what we've done so far in terms of developing that overall sweet spot. So that's the high-level introduction to the iInk model and the various elements. In the upcoming videos, we're going to do a much deeper dive into each of these sections and help you understand, and also the passport that you have access to through these challenges. There's activities that you can go through to help flesh out your knowledge in the various areas. So thanks again for participating in this video. Hopefully you're getting even a deeper understanding of what we're talking about, and hopefully it's piqued your interest, and we'll see you in the next one.